Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily Quiz for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 2nd September today, and in this video we are going to discuss these important articles which were in the newspaper today, and we are going to derive questions from these articles so that it will give the best idea how UPSC can ask questions from the current affairs. And also, if you are the first time visitor of this channel, then let me introduce this initiative to you guys. You know, every day in this video we discuss three types of questions. The first set of questions are from the current affairs. We take up the most important articles from the newspaper and we discuss them a little bit and derive questions from them. And in the second set of questions, we derive them from the static portion topics. If you had been with me, or if you are first time watching this channel, then let me tell you that we had started discussing static topics also in this video. So right now we are discussing the Indian polity, and the book which we are using for that is the Lakshmikant, and today we are going to discuss the Government of India Act of 1935 and derive some questions, prelims based questions from this act. After that, at the end of this session, we will discuss few previous year questions too, so that it will give the idea how the questions could come from how the questions do come in the exam, and what can be the methods by which we can solve those questions, and how to implement the knowledge which we get from these questions. So my request to you guys is please do watch the full video, do start noting down these questions which we discuss here, because if you will develop your own question bank, it will help you in many ways. For example, when your exams would be near, it will definitely help you in revising the current affairs in a very practical and in a very applicant way. So please do write down these questions, or at least take this screenshot of these questions, so that it will definitely help you. And also, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel and share it with your friends. So without any delay, let's have a look at the topics which we have to discuss today. Let's discuss them a little bit, and after that let's solve the questions which could be formed from these topics. The first topic which we have to discuss today, in fact it was in the news, it discussed the article itself discussed about the judicial appointments, especially the judges for the Supreme Court. There was a critical discussion about the way in India the judges are appointed. If you don't know about the appointment of judges, then you should definitely watch my video, or at least go for the at least read your Indian polity book. At least it will help you. Right now the appointment of judges is like, we had a collegium, we have president is the final authority to appoint a judge, but collegium, it recommends the name of the judges which the president has to choose from. So it is the president who appoints the judges for Supreme Court and the High Court, and collegium, they recommend it. What is the how many of the judges are in the collegium? We have the CJI and 4 other judges. It was not always same. Before 1981 it was little bit different. Earlier what used to happen, that this president would consult only Chief Justice of India, and this consultation was not binding on him. But there was huge discussion on that, and it went to the Supreme Court, and this is also called the first judge's case, as the name of the judgment is SP Gupta versus Union of India in 1981. In this judgment, the Supreme Court held the power of the president, that the consultation he takes from the Chief Justice of India is not binding on him. He can consult on his own discretion. So this was called the first judgment case, first judge's case. After that, there was another judgment which is called the second judge's case. In it, the Supreme Court overruled its earlier decision about the recommendation, about the concurrence of the recommendation of the Chief Justice of India. In the second judge's case, Supreme Court said that the recommendation from the Chief Justice of India is binding on the president. So he has to choose from the list which is given to him by Chief Justice of India. And also it introduced the system of collegium. In it, the Chief Justice and 2 senior judges were made the collegium, and they would recommend the names of the judges to the president, and president has to choose from them. After that came the third judge's case. It also it in fact it upheld the earlier judgment, which was known as the second judge's case. What it did, it only increased the number, it increased the role of the collegium, it increased the number of representatives in the collegium, that the collegium contains one supreme judge, chief justice of India, and four senior most judges. So this is the system which is right now followed, but there were few, the government of India tried to change few things with respect to the appointment of judges. They brought 99th Amendment Act, they brought NJAC, but because of the interventions from the Supreme Court, they ruled that it is very much unconstitutional, because in our constitution we have three separate organizations or three separate departments. We have legislation, we have executive, we have judiciary, and they are independent of each other. In NGAC there were involvement of the executive and legislature, so Supreme Court said that it is against the basic feature of the constitution, it violates the independence of the judiciary. So here in this article, what this main discussion is about, that the present scenario which we have, that the present situation by which the judges are selected, or judges are selected for the Supreme Court, it violates different principles in our constitution. It says that there are chances of that, there can be the chances of nepotism, and in only in our country that judges have the authority to choose the judges. It is talking about the collegium system, so there are various drawbacks to this system, and it favored few features of the NJAC. So this is whole in nutshell about this article which was in the newspaper. In nutshell, I hope you had understood it, and we will solve questions related to it in the next slide. After that, the another article which was in the news is talking about the Ola Electricals, as they had debuted in the share market and it is gaining huge profit in it. Its shares are gaining huge profit in it. The value of shares has increased, but the discussion here is a little bit different. The owner of the Ola, he has always demanded, or he has always promoted that Swadeshi should be promoted. Those who are invented or invented in our country, that only those things should be promoted with respect to those which are brought from the other countries. So he has raised this debate of Swadeshi versus Videshi campaign. He is in huge support of the Swadeshi campaign. He believes that it is the Swadeshi movement that should be supported. Swadeshi shares should be supported. Swadeshi instruments which we have in our country, that should be supported. It is like Ola versus Uber, or Ola versus other companies. He says that it is Ola which should be promoted because it is our Indian company. And similarly, he has brought up Ola Maps, and he says it should be promoted, or other different things with respect to that. In nutshell, it talks about the Swadeshi, inventions should be promoted over instruments should be promoted over Videshi instruments. So with respect to that, he has brought up the cloud service, which is a Krutrim cloud service. About this, a question may be asked in the prelims. What is this Krutrim cloud service, and who has brought it? So we should know about that. And he believes in the upliftment of the Swadeshi movement, or we can say Swadeshi campaign. Now after that, we have another article. It talks about the MSP. In direct, there was no direct article about the MSP, but if we look at the newspaper, we will find out the heading as opening up the field. Right now, our there has been always we can say war of words between the USA government and Indian government about the MSP, between World Trade Organization and MSP and Indian government, because of the MSP. We in our country, the government guarantees this MSP for a certain amount of crops, but here is an issue with it. Usually in our country, the most crops which are grown by our farmers are paddy and wheat, but these crops are very much water intensive, so they need huge amount of water, and it is said that it is when we export those crops, it is the virtual export of the water. So right now there is a need that this virtual export, or we can say we need to promote those crops which are less water intensive, because right now we are living in a world where in very near future that we will see huge water crisis. So with respect to that, the government is planning to give some incentives to the farmers if they want if they will shift their crops from these water intensive crops to low water intensive crops. So this was about this MSP topic. It is basically about the opening up the field. It is about going for the cross diversification. So here was the concept of MSP. So we should know about MSP. We will discuss a question about it. Then after that, another important topic which was in the news, it was about the culture of adjournment in courts. Usually we had seen for a small case, it takes years to for the courts to give the final judgment. There are huge adjournments over those cases, and President of India also mentioned about it. She talked about the black coat syndrome. Poor people, when they get involved with the courts regarding some case, they have to go through very multiple number of adjournments, and because of that they have huge financial burden, and they have various types of burdens related to that. So the president, she wanted that court should reduce this habit of adjournment and adjournments. They should very quickly go for the quick judgments and efficient judgments. And so this article was basically about this, and in this article we learned about a new concept which is called the we learned about the black coat syndrome. Such articles, such questions do come in the exam. Black coat syndrome, recently seen in the news, is related to what? So we should know about that, and we will derive question from this article too. After that, the another article which we have to discuss is about the lie detector test. Why we are discussing it? Because as we know that CBI has taken the case of the Kolkata rape case, unfortunately, which happened in our country. So with respect that the CBI approached Supreme Court that they wanted that Supreme Court should allow them to use the lie detector tests with respect to this case, with respect to the accused which they had caught. So it is about that, about lie detector test, whether it is allowed in our country. We will discuss it in the question, and all everything in about it we will discuss. And after that, there is another article which we have to discuss. It is about the social welfare for LGBTQI plus. Earlier they were not granted the ration cards. And even if any one of if any one of the couple dies, that person was not able to get the body of the deceased. So the central government, they advised the state government that they should be added into the rush. They should be given the ration cards, and they should be allowed to take the body if the close relatives of that person, of the deceased person, is not available. Then the LGBTQI couple should be allowed to take the body. So with respect to LGBTQI, we should know few things, whether their marriage is constitutionally right or not. We should know that. We will discuss it in the question. So this is in a nutshell about this topic which was in the news. After that, we will discuss about the Government of India Act of 1935. We will discuss it when that when that slide will come, and finally we will discuss few previous year questions. I hope you had got the crux of these articles, what was in the news. You had got the context of these articles. Now let's solve questions one by one. Let's see what we can get from the questions. Here the first question says, which of the following provisions is covered under Article 124 of the Indian Constitution? It talks about the appointment of the Supreme Court judges. So let's see what Article 124 of the which of the following provisions is covered under Article 124. First, option A, the procedure for the appointment of the Chief Justice of India. No, it is not covered under it. B, it deals with the appointment of Supreme Court judges by President. 100%, it is covered under it. C, the condition for the removal of Supreme Court judges. No, it is not covered under it. D, the powers and jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India. No, it is not under 124. So Article 124, it deals with the appointment of the Supreme Court judges by President. Why we had taken this discussion? Because we had discussed about the appointment of judges. Supreme Court, if UPSC is right now reading this newspaper, and they think they will form a prelims based question on that, and this is the question which they can form from many questions. So the idea is it will help you revise your current affairs, and also who knows, maybe they will ask a direct question from article 124, and every point in these questions is very much important for you. So that's why I tell you, please write these questions, at least take the screenshot of these questions. With this, let's move to the another article which we discussed about the Ola map, Ola electricals. Let's see what question can be formed from that. It says, which of the following statements accurately describe the concept of Kritrim cloud service? It is brought by the Olas, so we should know that it is brought by Olas. So let us see which of the statements accurately describe the concept of it. First, Kritrim cloud service is a government initiative aimed at providing cloud computing services, especially for education institutions in India. Totally incorrect. It is not a government initiative, but it has been brought by the Ola, so which it is a private initiative. Second, it is a program launched to offer artificial intelligence based cloud solutions to enhance public sector efficiency. No, it is not something like that. It is also incorrect. Option 3, the term refers to a cloud computing service that provides automated and scalable computing resources for various governmental and private sector applications. 100%. This is the proper definition of it. So option C3 is the correct option, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option C. So with this, I hope you had understood the concept of this Kritrim cloud service and also the context of this news. With this, let's move to the another. After today's discussion, it talks about which of the following statements about the minimum support price system in India is correct. You know why we discussed it? Because as earlier I told you, the government wants farmers to go for those crops which are less water intensive, and they are going to incentivize those crops, giving the incentive of 7,500 rupees per hectare. So with respect to this, we have the question from the MSP. We should know what MSP is. First statement, MSP is a price set by the government to ensure farmers are paid a minimum price for their crops regardless of market fluctuations. 100% correct. That is why they want the guarantee for it. They want the any special legislative act for that, executive act for that. So that's why there are protests regarding that. So statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, the MSP is announced by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare annually before the sowing season. 100% correct. Third, the MSP is legally binding and mandatory for all states to implement. Totally incorrect, because it is not legally binding. That is the fight behind the farmers protest. So for this question, the correct options are option 1 and 2 only, and the correct code given below is option A. With this, let's move to the another question. It talks about which of the following statements accurately describe the black coat syndrome. It was discussed by the President of India. So this becomes very important concept for us. About black coat syndrome, we should let's look at the statements. First statement, black coat syndrome refers to the psychological condition experienced by individuals due to prolonged exposure to formal attire, particularly black coats in a professional setting. No, this is totally incorrect. Statement 2, it is a term used to describe the phenomenon in which poor people experience the financial burden because of the continuous adjournment of the courts. It was recently used by Indian president with this context. 100% correct. This is the correct definition of it. Statement 3, black coat syndrome is associated with the psychological health issues due to wearing black coats in harsh climate. This is totally incorrect. So for this question, the correct option would be option 2, and from the code given below, the correct option would be option B. With this, let's move to the another question which was used. It talks about consider the following statements. It is about the lie detector as the CBI approached Supreme Court, so that Supreme Court will allow them to use the lie detectors with respect to the Kolkata rape case. So here are a few statements regarding that. Statement A lie detector test is legal in India under Article 21. No, it is not legal in India. If you want to go for the lie detection, first the accused should allow you to use the lie detector on him, and also there should be the magistrate in front of the magistrate. This lie detection should happen. And one more thing about the lie detector, we should know that if a person gives some statement under lie detection, that can't be used as an argument in the court, but that can be used to find the evidence. So these are important points about the lie detection. So first statement, it is totally incorrect because it is not legal. Second statement, according to the Supreme Court, with respect to Article 21, lie detector test can only be done to those criminals who are willing to do it. 100% correct. Statement 3, only a special police officer with rank above SHO should be present during lie detection test. No, it is the lie detection test has to be done in front of the whom, in front of the senior magistrate, in front of the magistrate. So this was about the lie detection, and I hope you had understood it. About lie detection, we should know a few things. There are three types of two types of detections with respect to it. Narco analysis, in which sodium pentothal is injected, which is also called the truth serum, and also polygraph test, that is also used. Then also the brain mapping is done, but we cannot trust them, क्योंकि इसमें what they do, they react to the heartbeat. What is the heartbeat? When any question is asked, they believe that once a lie is told, the heartbeat changes, but this is not the only thing when heartbeat changes. अगर आपने देखा हो, whenever you see your crush I remember my college days, when I used to see my crush, my heartbeat would go more than the Neil Armstrong, when he went on the moon. So these are not the symptoms of a person lying. So these things cannot be reliable, but these things can be used for taking the evidence, for searching for the evidence, but these statements can't be used in the court as the argument. This was about the lie detector. Now moving forward to the another question with respect to it. It talks about the LGBTQ. First, their marital status. First statement considers the following statement. First statement, Article 21 contains the freedom to marry one's own choice irrespective of race, religion, caste and gender. The gender makes the buzz here because you can't marry in the same gender. So it is not allowed in the Indian Constitution, and Supreme Court recently rejected this plea. Supreme Court did not allow it. So Article 2, with respect to Article 21, you can't marry within marry of you can marry of your own choice irrespective of race, religion or caste, but not irrespective of the gender. You have to marry opposite gender. So statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2, lesbian marriages are legal under Article 21 in India. Totally incorrect. They are not legal under Article 21 in India. So both statements are incorrect with respect to this question. Now, I hope we had discussed the questions with respect to the current affairs. Now let's have a look at the static topic which we have to discuss today. And today's static topic is Government of India Act of 1935. As yesterday we discussed about the Government of India Act of 1919. We saw that it was the first step towards the responsible government in India from the British perspective. Now today we are going to discuss about the Government of India Act of 1935. It was the second milestone towards the responsive government in India. It introduced a few features. Let us discuss about them. The key features of it was it provided for the establishment of an All India Federation. This All India Federation consisted of provinces and princely states as a unit, but it was not implemented. It provided for the establishment, but it was never implemented because the princely states, they stayed away from the federation. So this All India Federation was never completed, but it introduced the three classes of subjects as we have in the 7th schedule. For the federal list, as for the center, it contained 59 items. For the provincial list, for provinces, as we have right now the state list, it contains 36 items and residuary powers which were kept for the viceroy. So it introduced it provided for the establishment of All India Federation. Second, it abolished diarchy in the provinces and introduced provincial autonomy in its place. We discussed it in our Government of India Act of 1919 as it introduced diarchy in the provincial governments. What was diarchy? That the provincial government, the subjects would be classified into two. One would be transferred and one would be reserved. So this diarchy was totally removed, and all the subjects where the governor has to take the decision, he has to consult the legislative assembly and follow the recommendations of the legislative assembly. So diarchy was abolished in the provinces. Also, it provided for the establishment of diarchy at the center. In the provinces, the diarchy was abolished. The provincial autonomy was given at that place, but it provided for the establishment of diarchy at the center. It tried to go for the good governance. It tried to, we know that during that time the revolt for independence was on its peak. So in taking those things in consideration, it tried to go for the diarchy, where it would divide the subjects into the reserved and transferred. But the authorities, the organizations in India, they did not allow it, so this was not established. It was not introduced, implemented. Also, it reserved a certain number of general seats for the reserved class, for example, scheduled castes. So it reserved a certain number of general seats for them. It abolished the Council of India. It extended franchise. About 14% of the population got the voting rights, so it extended it. Another feature of it was it provided for the establishment of Reserve Bank of India. Another feature, it provided for the establishment of federal courts, so that if there would be any case, any discussion between central and provinces, so that can be solved by the federal court. It also, one of the important thing about it is it separate Burma from the India. It created two new provinces, which is Orissa and Sindh, and it provided for an appointment of Auditor General of India to audit the Indian accounts. So these were the key features of the Government of India Act of 1935. We cannot. This was a constitution in itself. We cannot remember everything for our UPSC. So in our book also few features are given. What we will try to discuss only those features. We will try to remember only those features, because that is what is necessary for us. Now let us see how UPSC can ask a question from this discussion. Various types of questions can be asked, whether a question may be asked about the reservation, question may be asked about the adult franchise, question may be asked about the Burma and India, question may be asked about Orissa and Sindh. So various types of questions can be asked, and we had formed a question with respect to the Government of India Act of 1935. Let us discuss that. Here the question says, which of the following features were part of the Government of India Act of 1935? First, introduction of a bicameral federal legislature consisting of the Council of States and the Federal Assembly. 100% correct. It introduced it. Second, provision of the establishment of federal court to resolve disputes between the central and provincial governments. 100% correct. 3. Granting of self-government to Indian provinces. Yes, it granted self-government to Indian provinces with the abolition of the legislative councils. No, it did not abolish the legislative councils. So statement 3 is incorrect, and with respect to this question, the correct statements are option 1 and 2, and from the code given below, the correct option would be option B. With this, I hope you had understood the static part also. We try our best to provide the best information possible. It takes a lot of hard work. So I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel and share it with your friends, so that they may also get benefited. And when you subscribe, it gives us the energy to work more hard on these things, these initiatives. And also, please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you. We are here to follow you guys. We are here to help you. Please write in the comments. We will definitely bring that thing for you. Whether it would be for one student only, do it, write it, and trust us, we will bring it for you guys, if it is under our control. Then moving forward to the last part of our discussion, which is the previous year questions. Let us see what questions we had brought today. Let's try to solve them. Here the first question says, a community of people called Manganiyars. Manganiyars is well known for their first martial arts in northeast India. No, they were from the Rajasthan actually, so it is not northeast. Classical vocal music in South India. No, as I told, they were from Rajasthan, so it is not in South India, it is in northwest part of the India. So this is also incorrect. Then D, Pitra Durga tradition in central India. No, not this also. B, musical tradition in northwest India, definitely in Rajasthan. So with respect to the Manganiyars, the correct option is option B. Coming to the another question, here it talks about the Gadar was a revolutionary association of Indians with headquarters at San Francisco. B, national organization National organization with headquarters at Berlin. National organization operating from Singapore. C. Militant organizations with headquarters at Berlin. D. Communist movement for India's freedom with headquarters in Tashkent. For this question, the correct option is option A. It was a revolutionary association of Indians with headquarters at San Francisco. It was established by the Punjabi Indians there in USA and Canada. So for this question, the correct option is option A. Now coming to the last question of today's discussion, it talks about which of the following were economic critics of the colonialism in India. Was he Dadabhai Nehruji, 100% correct. Was he Subramaniam Iyer, 100% correct. Was he R. Siddharth, 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the three were the economic critics of colonialism in India. So with this we complete today's discussion. I hope you would like the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and please do subscribe the channel. Once you subscribe, it gives us the energy to work more hard on it. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much. Best of luck to you guys.